Hello everyone, welcome to a new video of the indicator store, and this is a continuation of the last video where we saw how to create a strategy in Builder for the edge indicator. In fact, we saw how to create a strategy with almost any kind of indicator, but today we are going to continue checking what we can do with that strategy once you have it ready. And also, this indicator, the edge, includes a strategy created with Builder. Inside we can see that includes a template to automate the signals with markers, and also a strategy created with Builder that is exactly what we saw on the last video. We can see that it has all the input parameters of the indicator, and then just two tabs, one for the longs, another for the shorts, where we map each one of the input parameters inside the indicator, and we check if the plot shorts is not equal to 0, it means there was a short, and it paints the background and also executes an order. The idea is, okay, now what can we do with this? Because it is not just to automate the setup. The problem is, which are the settings? Which are the best settings to use with this setup or any other setup? And this setup has several parameters. The most important is the period of the exponential moving average, and also the number of the bars of the Donchian. This is the most important. And then we also have the filters. For this, the most important included with NinjaTrader is the strategy analyzer. With strategy analyzer, we can not only backtest a set of settings for any strategy, like for example here we have backtest, optimization, and a lot of new features that we are going to review in the future. But with backtest, we select the name of the strategy. On this case, we saw it is with test edge. Let me check here. This one. So here we have the parameters, the repeated filters, and the setup selection. For the setup, we have the one is when the market is approaching to the line, the two is when the market is going away from the line, and with the option number 3 is whatever happens first. When we have a bar pattern on any of the setups, then we have a signal. With the repeat filter, we only execute one of the signal per side. No, here we are looking for a short, and then when we have a signal, we execute that signal and do nothing until we are looking for a short again, even if we have more bar patterns in the middle. And the most important parameters are the period and the Donchian size, and of course the target and the stop, that they must have in agreement or in relation with the chart, because for example 10 ticks on this chart is insignificant. It is almost invisible. You can look, for example, this indicator has 50 and 20. 50 for the period, 20 for the Donchian. And then the setup number 3 with the filter number 2. Okay, the same here, 3 and 2. So we only need to check to change the Donchian period. And for this target, it is too small for Nasdaq on 5 minutes. No? Yes, 5 minutes. And the time interval ending today, starting today minus 3 months, 1, 2, 3, and trading with the day session, no, 24 hours, CMA US Index Futures ETH, 24 hours, but for indexes, including commissions, and click on run. With run, it just executes only one backtest with those settings, so it will not take too much, and we can see that the results are negative. Okay, but we don't have too much to check. That means that what we have on this chart is not working on the long run. We can see also the equity curve, very bad. But the problem is there any set of settings working good? Here we can also look at the chart, because it is also important to have an idea of the magnitude of the target and the stops regarding to the time frame. No? Here we can see 10 ticks is insignificant for this combination of instrument and time frame. Same here, 10 ticks. It is smaller than the size of a bar. You can also use the ruler to have an idea which is the average target and size, so you can measure from the entry to more or less, I don't say going to the bottom, but more or less here, and you can see the size. It is in ticks, okay, 800 ticks, so 10 ticks is nothing. That means if we need to test different combinations, no? Let me check if this is a particular case. Here, for example, where the market is not moving so much, like on this long, to take this small swing from the bottom to here, we have 130 trades, 30 ticks. So we can test between 50 to 500 maybe, in intervals of 50, just to have a brief and quick test from the minimum to the maximum. So we select optimization, and now each one of the parameters is a range from to an interval. So for the target we test between 50 to 500, and 500 is really big, in increments of 50. More or less 10 or 11 combinations. The same for the stop, from 50 to 500 in intervals of 50. And now we have more or less 100 combinations, 10 targets multiplied by 10 stops. Not changing the periods, okay? Sorted by profit factor. And you can see the period is 50 and the Donchian is 8, the default. So just testing different target and stops, we can see that we get more or less not so good, because on a previous video I explained that a good equity curve is not enough. We also need a profit factor bigger than 1.4. On between parentheses we can see which are the settings found by the analyzer on this solution. So now what we can do is testing different periods for the moving average, maybe between 10 and 100 in increments of 10. So now we have 11 more combinations multiplied by 100 is more or less 1000. No? We can wait. Okay, the problem is when the number of parameters is so big that we cannot wait so much. So we can use the genetic method. And now we have another problem here, because the best combination of target, stops and period has only 7 trades. The problem is 7 trades is not useful from the statistic point of view, because a good statistic needs enough data. And I will say more than 100. The more the better, no? So how can we? There are several ways to get more results. One of them is changing the optimization fitness. Maybe one discarding solution with less than 100 traits. On another video I am going to explain how you can create this. And now we are testing all the combinations, discarding any solution with less than 100 traits. Sorted from the best to the worst by profit factor, because this is what we selected. And now we can see that we have enough number of traits, more or less good profit factor. It is below my threshold. I prefer 1.4 or greater. The equity curve is no wonderful. It is going up at least. But we can keep trying, no? Because we are not testing the Donchian. Why using 8? We already saw on the previous video the effect of the Donchian. The smaller the Donchian, the more signals we have. So the worst case is 1, where it is almost not used. For example, if we use a Donchian of 1, we get a lot of signals. Okay, it is too noisy. And to the other side, if we use Donchian too big, maybe 50 bars is too much, because the moving average is never getting outside of the Donchian, so we are never looking for a trade. So we can search, or we can test between 1 and 50 in intervals of maybe 2, because more resolution that we don't need. Here we have more or less 26 multiplied by 1000, more or less 25,000 combinations. Again, this is not too much. We can wait. If we have time, I suggest waiting for that, because this is not too much. But if we have 1 hour, for example, in that case, or we are happy, no? We need to search something quick. Then we can use the genetic method. The genetic method is not testing everything. It is an approaching method. For example, if we have 100,000 combination of parameters, instead of testing all of them, we choose 100 random of those 100,000, and we backtest those 100, calculate this, whatever we select on the optimization fitness, sort from the best to the worst, and then we test again. How many times? 10 times. So in total we backtest 100, backtest, sort, and backtest again 10 times. In total, 100 multiplied by 10 is 1000. Or whatever we have before, no? In total, here we have 25,000. So we are testing 1000 backtest of a total number of 25,000. This is not so bad. We should test more than 1% of the total number of combinations, so we are okay. The only problem is it is an approach method. We don't get the best, and it depends on the initial parameters. Usually we need to click on run several times, but even so we can see that what we get now on the first run, it's more or less okay. A good profit factor 1.4, a good number of trades 300 something, and a good win percentage. I prefer something close to 50. The target is more or less 200, 100 for the stop, 40 for the period, and the Donchian is 7 bars. There are a lot of things that we can get from the report, a lot of things that we can do with this, but usually I start by I need enough number of trades, then a win percentage no less than 20, no bigger than 80. And the closest to 50 for me is the better. Usually that is the ratio between the target and the stop. So if we don't want a huge targets versus small stops or the opposite, we need a win percentage of near 50. Also, we want an equity curve linear and ascending. And the most important is what is happening at the last days. Because we need to remember that what we are doing is modeling a pattern working the best as possible on this time interval, because we suppose that the pattern is going to continue in the future. And if the traders currently trading the markets are more or less the same and they keep doing more or less the same, the patterns will continue to work. But as soon as group of traders start doing something different, or they are not there, they are not trading, then the patterns are going to degrade. And this is the reason because we need to optimize frequently or monitor the performance. So what we are searching for is the best possible parameters, because we know that the performance is going to decay. On this analysis, what we know is that statistically is what happened on the past. If it is going to happen in the future, this is a different topic. Something else that we can get from those reports is the time, because here we are doing the reports using 24 hours. 24 hours and closing at the session close, because we have the option exit on session close. And this session close, the time is correct if we select the correct session template. We don't want to be on a position when the market closes. What else can we get from this? The report by hour, or the hour profile. This is per hour. And if we select the entry time, then we have a chart where we have an idea where to start, when to start and when to stop. If I trade from here to here, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., our results are going to be okay. In the past, no? We suppose that in the future it is going to be closer at the beginning. Something else that we can get from this is the daily performance. We have a part of the Sunday, because the market is open at that on Sundays on the afternoon, but more or less the rest of the days are more or less okay, more or less similar. But if not, then we know which days of the week we should or not trade. Now the problem is when the setup is more complex, it has more parameters, and then it turns more complicated to optimize. Now let's go back to the equity curve. This is the first analysis. The second analysis is not so good. And also, if we click on run again, because we are using the genetic method, the results are going to be different. So it is not wrong that we need to click on run several times until we find something useful. And the more combinations that we have and the less number of backtests that we execute, it is more frequent that we need to click on run several times. Here the profit factor is better than 1.4, but I don't like the equity curve. I prefer this one. Very solid and straight to the upside. A good number of trades, closer to 50%. This one is too close to 90. 90% of winners means that we are making small targets, and when we lose big. So I prefer something more balanced, near 50%, where the target and the stops are more or less the same. Anyway, it is not bad having a win percentage lower than 20 or greater than 80. This is just my personal taste. For example, you can have a small win percentage. It is losing more times than it wins, but it is profitable. So that's all for today. And if you're interested in learning to create and optimize strategies, we have a training course for more info. You can log into the chat room that we have on Discord. The instructions to log are on the description of this video. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.